NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour champion.
There's nothing like it. You can hear the roar of the motors. You'll feel the ground shake beneath your feet. It's what modifieds are all about.
Cars, roar to life, we're underway.
So much on the line for this one today.
Trying to do the crossover.
Right to the bottom.
Nice move.
Angle again on the front stretch.
Looks to the inside. Moby throws the
Here
block.
comes Bonsignor.
He drives away. He will take the checkered flag. They are trying to make this track wide. To the top to the bumper.
Oh,
he's going to win one. This is what it all comes down to.
Here they come at the stripe. It's going to be a drag race.
Down to the line. Good evening, race fans, and welcome to Martinsville Speedway for the series finale of the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour and the 2025 series season. Tonight, the Virginia is for Racing Lovers 200 at one of the most historic racetracks in NASCAR competition. My name is Joe Koss alongside Andy Austin. And Andy, tonight, it all boils down to this: one race to win the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour Championship.
It's going to be an amazing breakdown. Plus, we already have some pre-race drama to get to. But first, what do you say we take a look at the facts here at Martinsville Speedway? Opened in 1947, just over a half mile, and a surface hybrid of concrete and asphalt. But the banking, 12-degree turns. A lot of you just saw a wild finish to the Mazda series just a few minutes ago. It's going to be just as wild for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour here this evening in their 200 laps.
Take a look at the race analysis for tonight's event. 200 laps of distance. They'll have 9 tires available through the race, but they can take 2 per caution period. Take a look at some of the recent winners. Cup Series driver at the time, Corey LaJoie. Ryan Preece, current Cup Series driver, and the defending race winner is Justin Bonsignor. Tonight he is in search of his 5th series championship.
And Justin Bonsignor set fast time this afternoon, but he will not be starting from the pole. You can see his car on the inside of the front row.
As they sit back in the infield getting ready to roll out onto the racetrack. They had a preliminary event here with the Mazda MX-5 series on track with a photo finish there. We'll get a look at that as they get ready to go racing. It's been a great season. We've raced through 7 states this year. Tonight, the 16th race. We've had 9 different winners. Will we have a 10th tonight? Well, before we figure that out, let's take a look back at some of the highlights of the 2025 Whelen Modified Tour season. The green flag is out, and the 40th season of the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour is underway. Patrick Emmerling's going to hold on and score his 8th career Whelen Modified Tour victory at New Smyrna. Ron Silk has won at the Thompson Speedway Motorsports Park. For the first time in 3 seasons, Craig Lutz has won at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Justin Bonsignor wins on the Whelen Modified Tour.
Checkered flag is out, 6 different winners. Kyle Bonsignor in the 22.
To the line they come. They make contact. Ripkema into the outside wall, but he takes the checkered flag for his first ever Whelen Modified Tour victory.
The winner of the Eddie Partridge 256 checkered flag out, it's Austin Beers.
Up next, it's a trip to Martinsville for the season finale. Who will be the 2025 champion? A tremendous season with highlights, and I think we're going to see a few more highlights here tonight. Martinsville always delivers under the lights here on a Thursday night. And, of course, this is a big weekend here at Martinsville on the national stage where we will set the championship for NASCAR's National Series leading into their series finale. So all eyes here at Martinsville and all eyes on the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. 2 Bonsignors will be on the front row. Justin Bonsignor in the 51 chasing his 5th ever Whelen Modified Tour championship. That would certainly put him in elite company. And he's got to be able to bypass Austin Beers, who's the current championship point leader. Ironically enough, Austin Beers has to finish 8th or better tonight. And where did he qualify, Andy Austin?
He qualified in 8th position. So no matter what Justin does, when he's already checked off one box this afternoon, and that is set fast time, looking to lead the first lap, the most laps. And no matter what happens, even with the winning bonus points, he still needs to have Austin Beers finish 8th or worse. And talking to both drivers this afternoon, I think Justin, with his experience and the I've been there mentality, tried to use that to his advantage over young Austin Beers, who's trying to become the youngest champion of all time. time in NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour history. But Austin is not being shuffled out or being intimidated at all.
Not at all. Justin Bonsignore came here earlier in the day today. Shots fired in qualifying here in the Hoosier Tire Pole. Let's hear from him.
Justin Bonsignore enters this race second in the championship points. Justin, given that situation, how big is it for you to come out here and start on the pole?
Well, obviously it's huge. You get a point. You know, we're kind of in a must-win, lead the most laps type of scenario tonight, and Austin's going to have an off night or some trouble. So, you know, we'll do our best to keep the pressure on him and keep him honest. But, you know, we got a really good car tonight, good Phoenix Communications Fury race car, so we're looking forward to it. More than anything, we'd like to win another grandfather clock. If we can somehow pull the comeback off, it is what it is. But you know, he's had a great year, and you know, there's no shame in second if that's what it is. So, but we'll go down fighting.
Thanks, Justin. Good luck out there.
Thank you.
That's Justin Bonsignore.
Thank you, Jesse. His 5th pole of the season. So Justin Bonsignore went out, got the job done in qualifying earlier today to earn a very valuable bonus point. Now let's take a look, Andy, at that championship point picture coming into the race tonight. We've talked a lot about Justin Bonsignore. We've talked a lot about Austin Beers, but there is a possibility, if things go completely wild, that Craig Lutz is still in the championship contender. Here's the championship points as it stands right now. With that bonus point given to Justin Bonsignore, came into the day 14 points behind, now 13 points behind Austin Beers.
And then you have Craig Lutz, who absolutely loves this racetrack. It took him a long time to figure out how to get around the paperclip, but with his best finish ever last year, a 6th place, and he led 53 laps. I certainly don't want to count him out, but he's got a lot of ground to make up. He really needs something to happen early to both Beers and Bonsignore if he's going to take home the title.
And we'll talk about this throughout the race, but throughout the top 10, these top 10 drivers are solidified. Nobody else can break into the top 10, but there are some positions up for grabs where if you're running for 6th or 5th, there's opportunity for you to advance your standing throughout the season. Now, head-to-head tonight, we looked at who's going to win this title, Austin Beers or Justin Bonsignore. Let's take a look at the tail of the tape, head-to-head between Austin Beers and Justin Bonsignore here at Martinsville. The upper hand, it's got to go to Justin Bonsignore. Justin Bonsignore has the strength. He's got the speed. His first victory came here a year ago. He heard it when you talked to Jesse Punch a moment ago, how he's a guy who has already won here. He's already got the grandfather clock. And Andy, it's the only trophy that he has proudly displayed within the confines of his home, that grandfather clock right in the entryway of Justin Bonsignore's home.
He has won 46 races on the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour and does not know where most of his trophies are located within his own house. So his championship trophies, some of his big parade trophies, but I'll tell you what, the grandfather clock is front and center when you walk into the Bonsignore household.
Here's how they go head-to-head at Martinsville. The defending win a year ago for Justin Bonsignore. Now, Austin Beers has not been spectacular here. 1 top 5 in 3 starts, a couple of top 10s in 3 starts, but that DNF. Now, Justin Bonsignore has 1 as well, but look at these stats. 4 top 5s in 5 starts. The only one that he didn't, he had mechanical problems. He was fast that night as well. Justin Bonsignore, both in speed on the racetrack and in his stats, has the upper hand here at Martinsville. But remember, for Austin Beers, it's 8th or better, and he's done that twice before. So he has done that plenty of time to be able to get that championship. Can he execute and be able to get that done tonight?
The confidence level on Austin Beers is absolutely through the roof the last couple of weeks, and I think that's because he's gone out and taken the point lead away and then solidified his standing as if you want the championship, you got to go through me. He went into Justin Bonsignore's house, Riverhead, where he has the most wins over anybody who's competed in NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour competition, and then there was the changing of the guard, if you will. We talked about that during the Eddie Partridge 256, where Beers and Bonsignore came together towards the later part of the race. Beers went on to that win in Justin's household, and I think that really set the tone of, all right, here's what's going to happen. We're going to Thompson. We're going to Martinsville. It's going to be a dogfight right to the end, and advantage Beers right now. So just because Justin's stats and history shows he has the upper hand, Beers coming into his own, it's going to be a tough fight tonight.
You're right, and it's been very different. Last season when he won his 4th championship, Justin Bonsignore won the last 3 races of the year. Kind of a come-from-behind victory, was able to take that lead late in the season, and all of a sudden he came to life. Traditionally, the schedule works out for Justin Bonsignore, where the latter half of the season is better for him statistically. But you said it. Austin Beers goes out there to Riverhead Raceway and knocks Justin Bonsignore out of the way at his home track, dominant race-winning car, and wins at a track he had never won before, and that was Austin Beers. They go to Thompson Speedway, where Austin Beers was able to gain a couple of spots on Justin Bonsignore, where he had an off night, gained a couple of spots at New Hampshire Motor Speedway, where he had an off night, and that built that momentum to where we are today, where he's got just enough cushion to be able to get that victory. I went back through the notes. Over the past 25 years or so, you have never had a championship contender jump from second to first in the title hunt by the end of the championship chase. Austin Beers, statistically, you look at the history, has the advantage, but they've got to run the race. They don't run them on paper.
And they have to go through the guy who won the pole and won the race last year, and Justin Bonsignore, certainly the top customer. So you can see it on your screen. In order for Austin to clinch the championship, Beers must finish 8th or better. He has completed every single lap this year. He hasn't finished out of the top 10 since Richmond Spring last year.
Yep.
So he's a very consistent driver. He just needs an ordinary night. And then Justin Bonsignore, he needs to do a few things if things are going to fall his way.
Yeah, simple math for Austin Beers. Now, Beers, he needs to have a rough night, right? No bonus points as you roll on down through. Now, there's some tiebreakers that play into this. Beers and Bonsignore's would be tied if Justin wins tonight with 2 wins. So you go to the next tiebreaker, and that scenario, Justin Bonsignore would win the tiebreaker 2-1 based on runner-up finishes. So pretty wild how this could play out tonight, and we have seen just about anything you can see in modified racing here this season. Beers, Bonsignore, who's it going to be? Can they bring another trophy back to Mud Lane in Pennsylvania, where Tony Hirschman has already brought 5 back and they happen to be neighbors? Or can Justin Bonsignore bring another one back to his home in Long Island and etch his name further into the history books of the Modified Tour?
Look how focused he is. Just dig it right out of the window.
So moments away from getting the engines to fire here at the Martinsville Raceway Speedway. I'll get it here in a minute. For the championship of the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, modified, staged, and ready to go. All the colors of the rainbow, as our colleague Ben Dodge would say, who is watching this settling in with you and FloRacing back in his home in Connecticut. And I know Ben is with us in spirit, a key part of the modified tradition here again in 2025. This place is ready to go. Good crowd on hand to watch the series finale. The Virginia's for Racing Lovers 200. The nerves of these drivers sitting there in these race cars before they fire off on such an iconic race is critical. They've got a few more moments just to settle in and be ready to go.
We started the season off in February at New Smyrna Speedway on a cold night, which was just an outright just great race right down to it. And to finish the season on a cold night on the other half of the year, I think it's fitting for what's been a great season-long battle between a couple of drivers, Austin Beers and Justin Bonsignore, and everything's coming down to it here tonight over the 200 laps for the Virginia is for Lovers race.
One of the biggest stages that the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour will race on all season long. This place just steeped with history and modified racing and NASCAR in general. The oldest track in NASCAR, and this is the oldest modified division in NASCAR competition. Let's go trackside for the command to fire engines.
Fans, what a race we just saw. Now get ready for another one. Please welcome Executive Director of the Martinsville Henry County Heritage Museum and lead for Virginia 250 Car Project, Holly Kozlowski. She is here tonight to say the most famous words in motorsports. Take it away, Holly.
On behalf of Joey Arrington's record-breaking Virginia 250 car, drivers, start your engines.
The ground pounders of the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour come to life at Martinsville Speedway as we get ready for the series finale of the 2025 campaign. Will it come down to Justin Bonsignore, Austin Beers, or can Craig Lutz win the championship here tonight in Martinsville?
7:30 we come back to the start.
Here at Martinsville Speedway, this is the Virginia's for Racing Lovers 200 for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. 9 different winners this season. Who will be next in this 2025 campaign? Before the cars rolls, let's take a look at the starting lineup for tonight's Virginia is for Racing Lovers 200 as they get ready to roll off the front straightaway and get a couple of pace laps and some heat into these race cars.
Starting on the pole, driving car number 51, it is Justin Bonsignor. For the first time in 107 races, it's an all Bonsignor front row as Kyle Bonsignor has his first NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour front row start. Patrick Emmerling, one of the fastest drivers in practice, will start in third, followed by Craig Lutz out of Miller Place, New York, in car number 46.
Starting fifth, the big winner from New Hampshire Motor Speedway, that's Tyler Ripkema driving Old Blue. Carson Lofton in the field tonight. He's a Cars Tour Rookie of the Year in 2025. Luke Baldwin is back, third generation racer in the 7 New York, and Mooresville, North Carolina, and the championship point leader will start 8th. That's Austin Beers from Northampton, Pennsylvania, seeking his first series title.
Great qualifying run for car number 54, Tomcat Tommy Catalano out of Ontario, New York, and on the outside of row number 5, it's Eric Goodale, a former winner out of Riverhead. Ryan Newman, the Rocket Man, in car number 4, the Mystic Missile out of South Bend, Indiana, and Matt Hirschman out of Northampton, Pennsylvania. He'll start 12th.
Teddy Hodgson, part-time runner on the Tour and a rookie this season, makes his debut here at Martinsville Speedway alongside sophomore driver Trevor Catalano from Ontario, New York. He'll start 14th. Connor Jones pulling double duty this weekend at Martinsville. He'll be behind the wheel of a Craftsman truck tomorrow evening from Fredericksburg, Virginia in his home state. And Jake Lutz, who was quick in practice, but will start deep in the field back in 16th.
You mentioned the Craftsman Truck Series. Another driver who's had some opportunities this year starts 17th in the Gary Putnam number 77. That's Mike Christopher Jr. To his outside is Stephen Kopsick in car number 21. He'll start in 18th. Joey Coulter, he starts in 19th with Danny Bone out of Freehold, New Jersey, starting on the outside of row number 10.
21st starter, car 38, Bobby Labonte, a NASCAR Hall of Famer and 2000 Cup Series champion alongside Hampstead, New Hampshire's Andy Seiss in 22nd. Ken Hagee, John Michael Chenette, 23rd and 24th.
There's Jeremy Gessner out of Tampa, Florida in car number 55. With Luke Fleming on the outside. He's from Mount Airy, North Carolina. And your final row, giving it an international flavor, Norman Newman in car number 11. And Mark Marshall in Hudson, New Hampshire, out of Hudson, New Hampshire, completes the starting order.
Well, let's welcome in the third member of our broadcast team tonight. She'll be covering the action on pit lane as she has all season long. Jesse, we've followed the modifieds everywhere, but it all comes down to a championship battle between 2 drivers tonight.
That's right, guys. One final run here tonight for this tour. And you talked about Justin Bonsignor, the veteran of this series, and his been there attitude when it comes to the championship. I chatted with him too, and he said, look, I've been here before, and I've lost more of these than I've won. So when it comes to the on-track experience and knowing how to handle this in all capacities, the mentality of knowing how to approach this race and understanding what it's like to win and lose is something that is a huge, huge advantage for Justin tonight. He says, I'm a veteran on the racetrack, and in this scenario, he's a veteran all around too.
Yeah, no doubt about that. You look at Austin Beers in that 64 car, Northampton, Pennsylvania. He's a 4-time champion, not in this series, but he's been through the paces of this. He won his first championship at just 13 years old. He's won Tour-type modified championships, but not on this stage. How can he use that to earn his first career Whelen Modified Tour title?
Think back to when you were 22 years old and what was going through your mind. Austin Beers, a few hours away from possibly being the youngest modified champion of all time in Whelen competition.
Field getting ready for the green flag in the series finale. Here at Martinsville Speedway in the 2025 season as Justin Bonsignor leads the field down to the green flag alongside his cousin Kyle Bonsignor, and the green is out here in Martinsville.
First time into turn number number 3, just feel the thunder. It's Bonsignor on Bonsignor. Justin comes down to get another point by leading the first lap. Again, even with leading the most laps, winning the pole, and leading a lap here and getting the winner bonus points, Justin has to win with Austin Beers finishing in 8th. He leads by about 2 car lengths off of turn number 4.
Austin Beers in middle of the pack here is Tommy Catalano of 54, who won it at NASCAR Speedway earlier this season for his first career win, has that 64 shuffle to the outside. And very much like you see in the National Series, the outside lane is a tough sledding here in the modifieds, and Austin Beers is struggling to get that 64 down to the bottom, and he is going backwards here in the early stages.
Look at Matt Hirschman on the inside of car number 23. Carson Lofton, just 17 years of age, but racing like a veteran. He had a great result here last year. Finally finds the inside. Will tuck back in behind the Northampton, Pennsylvania driver, and they will go after it down the front straightaway. Back up in front, it's Bonsignor by 3 car lengths.
Here's Patrick Emmerling sliding into that 3rd spot. You go back a little bit further. Carson Lofton still battling with Austin Beers, who's hung out on the outside lane. But Beers' car continues to come to life there on the outside. He's actually able to clear Carson Lofton off turn 2.
Beers off of turn 4, now pulls it off of the corner, and again, about as cool as you can expect a 22-year-old to be. Justin, who has been there, he has done that. He's come from behind. He's won championships. Talked to Justin about winning his first Tour championship back a number of years ago. He said, basically, I had it all sewn up. I wasn't in Austin's position, but I've actually tried to rattle him a little bit, give him some good ribbing, but you just cannot seem to shake the kid. And Austin, cool, calm, and collected, doing exactly what he's done all year. That's be consistent, and that's what's kept him in the game and kept him ahead of the game.
And their goal was really not to step over the line, and you can do that pretty easily here at Martinsville. You've got that curbing, that black line that you see on the inside through turns 1 and 2, where we watch the left side of the screen. That is a moment. Here is a 99 of Connor Jones that goes around, and then it looks like Bobby Labonte gets caught with that in the right front, dangling off the side of that cookout number 38.
Yeah, the last time we saw a tire leave or almost leave a car, it was Ripkema at New Hampshire in that spectacular New Hampshire Motor Speedway finish. Ripkema won the race. Now Bobby Labonte early on in the action on the short end of a wreck. It's a tough situation where he had absolutely nowhere to go, and it does bring out the first yellow. 8 laps into this one, where it's Justin Bonsignor and Kyle Bonsignor, your top 2.
Yeah, Tether did its good job on that 38. Let's take a look at what happened. The 99 of Connor Jones in the inside lane underneath that yellow car. That's Ryan Newman in the outside. They came together on the front straightaway. Newman into the outside wall himself. Jones spins across the nose, and behind afterwards, it was Bobby Labonte on the brakes that got shuffled up into the outside wall, and that contact was with the wall where that right front tire came loose of the 38.
Couple of different things in that shot. Brian Newman, great job of getting on the brakes as soon as he did after that contact. And then Stephen Kopsick in number 21. He's one of the drivers that had to go to the rear for an unapproved adjustment. It wasn't the 51, it was actually the 21, so I misspoke on that one, but having to dig a little bit harder. A driver who started the season off so great with a couple of top 2 finishes, still knocking on the door of that first NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour win. He's got a long way to go tonight if he's going to seal it and make it happen to close out the year. Window net about to come down for Bobby Labonte, the 61-year-old who has a grandfather clock of his own in the NASCAR Cup Series, and the 2000 champion now with the with the steering wheel up on the dash, and there he is.
NASCAR Hall of Famer Bobby Labonte out of this one. Well, we're under the Whelen caution light, and the Whelen caution lights are on. Whelen, the official warning lights of NASCAR, trusted to protect first responders.
Bobby out to survey the damage, and there you get a good shot of the Whelen lights. Just a tough break. Bobby doesn't race every single week, so it's certainly a treat to see him when he does. And I'm sure as someone who used to just live this, 40 weeks a year, it's special to, get out here behind the wheel and the times that you do to put all the effort into this long day of racing. This is a one-day show for the Whelen Modified Tour. Gates opened early, practiced throughout the day, and when it came to be showtime, just 8 laps into this one, has to take the long walk. There's Luke Baldwin on pit road in car number 7. Early pit stop for him. Driver who qualified on the outside of the front row last year. Really came to life. Had kind of a coming out party between North Wilkesboro and in Martinsville last year, but a quick adjustment on that 7 New York, and he pulls back onto the raceway.
And a splash of fuel, which may become helpful later when we get an opportunity to see more of the field on pit lane. Heartbreak, though, to see Bobby Labonte out of this one. Interesting, you see so many of the NASCAR stars come back and run these races. A prior winner here was Corey LaJoie, who spent a little bit of time in modifieds, had a couple of races on his way up to the NASCAR National Series, and now even Justin Bonsignor, who will be running a double duty this weekend, replacing William Sawalich in the NASCAR Xfinity Series here on Saturday, to be able to run for Joe Gibbs and wrap out his 2025 campaign. But of course, tonight the focus here on winning the championship in the Whelen Modified Tour and really putting him in rare company among those champions, guys like Mike Stefanik, who have 7, Doug Coby with 6, and Tony Hirschman with 5. If Justin Bonsignor were able to get that, he would tie Tony Hirschman with most championships in the 3rd position with Tony Hirschman here in the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour in that modern era since we started in 1985.
You know, you mentioned that some of the positions could change within the top 10, and those drivers are racing tooth and nail every lap here tonight just to get to that position so they could get that extra Whelen money, because on the 40th anniversary and to celebrate Whelen's 25th anniversary as the title sponsor, they put in a lot of money from the top all the way down in every single one of those point positions, paying a lot of money. So there's a lot on the line, not just for the championship, for the drivers, though, inside the top 10.
There's always something to race for. We saw the 7 New York of Luke Baldwin on pit road. Let's go down to pit road and hear more from Jesse.
Oh yeah, guys, I was just going to mention a little earlier when we saw Luke Baldwin make an appearance that before the race he was hanging out with Austin Beers, and I asked Austin how he's feeling, and Luke said, well, he's feeling really good until I take him out in turn 4. Obviously joking. This field incredibly close, and at the same time Justin Bonsignor walked up and gave him a little hug too. So I just lay all this out to say, despite how much is on the line tonight, the amount of respect between these drivers in the field is immeasurable. They're having a lot of fun out there too.
Yeah, and I think, Jesse, you're so right, because they have been poking fun at each other for a while. There was a text thread, and we talked about this at the World Series at Thompson, between Justin Bonsignor, Craig Lutz, who was in the championship hunt, and Austin Beers. And it doesn't matter what they throw at the 22-year-old kid, Austin Beers. He doesn't get rattled. They did a release of the 2026 NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour schedule here earlier today, and they were there doing some videos, Austin Beers and Justin Bonsignor. Austin Beers just shakes it off. He does not get rattled. He's cool as could be. And Justin's like, when I was going for that first championship, I was nervous. I couldn't sleep. You know, it was a different game. I was never as calm as Austin Beers has been today.
Imagine where he's going to be when he's 34 years of age and in the considered prime of his driving career. Ready to restart this one. The Virginia is for Lovers 200 at Martinsville Speedway. All Bonsignor on the front row. Justin gets the jump, and we're back under green.
Yeah, but Kyle's going to get a little bit of help from Craig Lutz into turn 1, doing it the hard way around the outside lane of the racetrack. And Kyle Bonsignor just trying to keep pace, but it slides up off the corner, and Justin Bonsignor has the edge by the time they dive back into turn 3.
I like what Patrick Emmerling's doing. He's thinking to stay on the inside and again kind of freight train or start the freight train on Kyle Bonsignor. Again, Kyle has never had a look at the front row in his 107 starts at the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour level, and had a shot at the lead, but now falling into the clutches of 3rd place or 4th place Craig Lutz. Craig Lutz goes for 3rd this time in turn 4.
He'll go to the bottom. Did you see Tommy Catalano off the end of the front straightaway just slammed the door shut on the 60 of Matt Hirschman? Hirschman had to climb all over the binders. That's just outside the top 5. Tommy Catalano, who had clutch problems in practice earlier today, running in that red 55 just behind this battle, just outside the top 5 and having a good start to his night here.
I wonder if it had something to do with the gender reveal party that went on in the 54 team, and they blew out some pink smoke, because we found out earlier, they didn't really do this, but we found out earlier that the Catalanos are expecting.
Looking for their first baby girl. His wife Allie expecting later on this fall, and of course it's on a race weekend date, so they're trying to sort that out and make sure they can still make it to the track on time. But congratulations to the Catalanos and their new one here expected this fall. Things settle out to a single file for the moment, and you see what that cost Kyle Bonsignor. 2nd on the restart, now has slipped back behind Tyler Ripkema, and he rides in 5th.
Tyler Ripkema running or completing his first full season as a driver of Old Blue. And we talked about the storied history of that race car and all the wins and championships. you know, one thing that really started to happen in the second half of the season for our Old Blue, Ripkema, and the Bowler team is just consistency. They were so up and so down towards the end of last year. They would run in the top 5, and they would be mired back in 16th for a couple of weeks, and then they'd recover. Well, the pendulum kind of slowed a little bit, stayed more towards the middle, and I think highlighted by that go-for-broke win at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. He had a very fast race car at Riverhead Speedway Raceway, and you know, was strong at Thompson too. They're putting together a whole schedule for 2026, so look for Ripkema back behind the wheel of Old Blue next year.
Let's check in on that championship battle. Justin Bonsignor leading the way right now. Assuming he ends the race here, would earn all those bonus points. Where is Austin Beers? He is 9th. That's the one position Austin Beers cannot be in right now if he wants to win the championship. 8th or better. If we're to end right now, Justin Bonsignor would be your 2025 champion, but we are only 24 laps in. Can Austin Beers maintain his cool? This car not as fast as they hoped it would be. You've got Trevor Catalano back there in the 56, another young, aggressive, fierce driver who's coming into his own, putting the pressure on the 64 of Austin Beers.
You know, it's funny, you talk about the camaraderie between these drivers, and generally you think of drivers who have been racing against each other for 15, 20 years, the grizzled veterans of the Modified Tour. There is a whole new breed of drivers, whether it is Craig Lutz, or if it's Trevor Catalano, or Austin Beers, or Luke Baldwin, and whether they move into a national series or stay right here in the regional series of the Whelen Modified Tour. This is their time to bond, and they have their own little special vibe going on right now, and I think that's real unique amongst the series of this level. It's really, really cool to see.
See that train? That's 9th, 10th, 11th. The 58 car is the only other winner in the field. He won this race of Eric Goodale back in 2021 when it was a spring race. Next year, the race here at Martinsville will be held on the March spring weekend for the NASCAR Cup Series. Goodale came in. He was all fired up. Loves this racetrack. He's got the grandfather clock at home as well, proudly displayed in his home on Long Island. He'd love to get another one here tonight.
He talked about his very first time at Martinsville, which he was so excited to be here, to look up at the giant stands and the storied history as a student of the game that Goodale is. And when he went to fire off his race car, it misfired. He ended up spinning around and having an accident, but not with his race car. You can fill in the blanks on that one right then and there.
His first start, it was the first time driving a Tour Modified. He's like, I'm going to be the first one on the racetrack. He ended up spinning himself out and had to come right back down to pit lane because it was just a little bit too much. He reset, went back out, and eventually became a winner of a grandfather clock. You go back one car behind him, the young Teddy Hodgson in the 05. That car is a family operation. They run part-time, but you know what? Down in Long Island, Skip Barber has a training facility that they've just built. They had some sims, and he had the opportunity to go down there and join a watch party of the recent Formula One race. He ended up winning a sim race with the fastest lap time. It earned him an opportunity next season to do a test in a Formula 4 car out at COTA. So they're in the middle of trying to coordinate that. So from one open wheel style of racing to another for Teddy Hodgkin out of Danbury, Connecticut. He said, I wanted to get down to Martinsville and add that to our schedule. We're a small team on a tight budget, but we love being able to run these modifieds, and Martinsville was the place I had to be. So good to see him in the field tonight. He's had a good qualifying run so far today. It's been a nice quiet day, and his start here at the Martinsville Speedway started 13th, moved up a spot to 12th, and he's just riding, starting to learn the ropes of this famed half-mile facility.
But how cool is that? Think of when something happened in your life and you had absolutely no plan when you woke up that day to go do the thing, and it ended up working out 15 times better than it would have been if you followed a plan, as he's now feeling the pressure from Ryan Newman. He only went to the watch party on a whim. Tried a sim. Hey, I'm a race car driver. I might be able to do this. And just because he went to the watch party on a whim is now going to have that incredible experience as a test, to get a test over at COTA.
Talk about a guy that's been picking up spots. The trailing arm broke on the 21 car during qualifying, and that is Steven Kopsik. He is rolling through the field and making progress. He's up to 14th right now, and he's following in the tire tracks of Ryan Newman. They're both starting to try to make up some ground. Newman, who was involved in that incident, caught the outside wall when Bobby Labonte had problems. But Steven Kopsik's got a really quick race car on that 21 tonight.
Yeah, he and his father, Nick, have put together a really awesome team this year, and they came out of the gate swinging, and I thought that they would be one of the first 5 or 6 drivers to break through to victory lane this year. It hasn't quite worked out, but if he keeps going the way he's going tonight, he just may be the 10th different winner that we've had in NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour competition, because he has been lights out, as you can attest to, going inside and out, now closing in on Ryan Newman. Separation about 5 car lengths now in turn number 1.
Out front, Justin Bonsignor leads the way, but we're starting to see Patrick Emmerling close that gap in just a bit in the battle for the race lead. It was about a half a second to a second advantage that Justin Bonsignor had for a while, but Emmerling, who this season has been very good on the long run, is whittling away at those lap times. He's been a little bit quicker every time through, and he is starting to make that from what was 5 car lengths to 3 car lengths. He's closing in on Justin Bonsignor.
Justin continues to lead it, but the Dale Henquist-led number 1 team, talking to those guys this afternoon, they came into this race last year as a championship contender. Arguably, they've been faster this year on a consistent basis, but they've been snake bit. They've had a couple of different issues, not of their doing, too. Let's go back to Seekonk back in May. They were challenging for 2nd place coming to the checkered, ended up 13th that day after an accident very, very late, so that knocked them about 10 points or so. And then they've had a couple of other things, too, but they really have their heads held high. This is the same race car that Patrick brought to Thompson, the old Jeff Bodine throwback that they've done earlier in the year. It's a good race car, and it's going to challenge for the lead before too long.
Yeah, just different skin on it. This car has been very good for them over the year. They called it the sophomore slump. 2 wins this season. Had a great start to the season at New Smyrna. It was clear that Patrick Emmerling was going to be a championship contender. The only thing that started to fade them as they went through is they had 3 DNFs in the first 6 races. That put him behind the 8 ball. You take one of those away, and he would be a driver we'd be talking about here tonight as a championship contender. So Emmerling and this team looking good. You can see how those brake rotors on the front starting to heat up a little bit, but pretty deep into this run here, 43 laps when they come across the line. Really not abusing that car, either one of them at the front of the field.
Yeah, and Patrick Emmerling's running, I wouldn't say injured, but he has a bit of a soreness on his right wrist. From basically just turning race cars all year. And think of how many laps he's turned, not only in the Whelen Modified Tour, but the Xfinity Series as well. He's running with I wouldn't call it a cast, but what would you call it, like a brace of some sort?
Yeah, a bit of a brace on his right wrist just to make it a little bit more comfortable for him. And you're up on the wheel here at Martinsville. This will wear you out. It's a short race with 200 laps. It's a cool night here in Virginia, and that certainly makes it a bit easier there for Patrick Emmerling. You see him starting to slip slide that car around, and as Justin Bonsignor looked up in the rearview mirror, knowing, as we heard from him earlier today after his pole win, that he had to go out and win the race. He looked at this as a must-win situation. Lead the most laps, get all those bonus points he can, and Patrick Emmerling try to take some of those points away.
Justin Bonsignor, you're about to get into some lap traffic, and I'm real surprised that one of the cars he's getting into is the driver who qualified 6th. Carson Lofton, considered one of the I wouldn't say favorites, dark horses tonight. You know, he certainly has had a fast race car. If he was challenging for the win, I wouldn't be a bit surprised, but that's not the case. He's just fighting to stay on the lead lap as now they work around Ken Hagee, and Justin has some problems as Patrick Emmerling wrestles the lead away from car number 51, new leader in turn number 2.
On lap 47, so Patrick Emmerling jumps out to the race lead. The Justin Bonsignor 47 laps led toward that bonus point as he now settles into 2nd. Craig Lutz is there now in 3rd, and Craig Lutz, he led some laps here last year. It has not been a great racetrack for him in that 46 car, but last year all of a sudden they figured it out. They had speed, and he said what we gained on last year we took right back to the racetrack here. And Craig Lutz, every time this season we go to a NASCAR affiliate track, whether it was earlier this season where he won at Richmond Raceway, New Hampshire Motor Speedway where he had a strong car but didn't come home with a win, and the big All-Star weekend at North Wilkesboro where he scored the win there, he has been at the front anytime it's been a companion weekend with a NASCAR Cup Series.
And they have the best pit food of all of them. They even have the pumpkin Reese's.
Yeah, well, it's, you know, it's Halloween, right?
That was awesome. I mean, it was a great little touch. That's why we were there. And also to hang out with Craig, too. And, you know, a testament to what you were saying earlier as far as building the notebook. Last year, the 46 team had, we are under yellow here.
It's trouble down in turns 3 and 4. Looks like Ken Hagee is stopped. He's got that car rolling once again as he will bring that car down the front straightaway. 2nd caution of the Virginia's for Racing Lovers 200 here in the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, exactly 50 laps in. Patrick Emmerling is a race leader with Justin Bonsignor, Craig Lutz, Kyle Bonsignor, and Tyler Ripkema, the top 5. You've got to go back to the 9th position where Austin Beers is riding, has stabilized there right now. Again, Justin Bonsignor is not the race leader. Championship edge would belong to Austin Beers, but still 150 laps remain here tonight at the Martinsville Speedway.
To Justin's point, when we were mentioning on pit road of the gap that he had to make up and what he would have to do, he said, hey, that's why we run all the races. That's why we run all of the laps. You never know what's going to come down. And he, as something we were talking about earlier, the respect level between a veteran like Bonsignor, and it's not like Austin Beers is a rookie. He's been at it for a couple of years now, but relatively young, trying to become the youngest NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour champion. He said the kid is not rattled, but you know, here's what I need to do, and I can do it because I got nothing to lose. I'm going for it. And, you know, one thing I think we might see out of Justin, and we've seen it so far here tonight, is something we haven't always seen this year, and that is going for broke. He's been, I would say, off a little bit this year compared to what he's done in the past couple of years. And for an off season to be second in place with 2 wins, that's pretty amazing.
We'll see what he can do. Dominated the first 47 laps. Patrick Emmerling now out in front as we circulate here under the second caution of the evening. A little bit of a longer run here that time through. You go back through the history of this race, you tend to see some short runs early on, but we had the first caution came out on lap 18, and then a good 30-lap run or so to bring us to this most recent caution. Waiting for pit road to open, and just as a reminder, the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, you can take either fuel or tires on one pit stop. It'll be 2 tires the max per stop, and so you may see these cars come down pit road multiple times just to be able to get the service that they need. Pit road is open. I expect to see just about everybody come down pit lane and get some of that service that they need. A little bit of splash at least once today for fuel to be able to get to the finish, and then tires to give you that grip and that launch off the corners. One thing that NASCAR did do is they have all these teams starting at the front end of the field about pit stall 10. They don't work around the corner in turns 1 and 2, so the leaders will be pitting on the straight part of pit road as they make their way down pit lane, where Jesse Punch will have all the coverage of the pit stops, including some of the race leaders and the championship contenders, with Patrick Emmerling the first to hit his pit stall.
One of Justin Bonsignor taking 2 tires now. I talked to Ryan Stone before the race. He said they have a few adjustments they want to make, and they continue to make as the race goes on. But they're happy with this race car, just kind of playing the game of the changes that 64 tires and making his way off pit road. It is a tight exit off pit road, but that 64 gets off just in time.
A tight battle off the pit lane. Jesse was the 46 of Craig Lutz, who was well ahead of everybody off pit lane based on their strategy. Matt Hirschman off second. He will stay on the racetrack this time through. And then here comes Emmerling, Eric Goodale, Justin Bonsignor, Teddy Hodgson, and Austin Beers back on pit lane for more service. You look at the tires. It was rear tires for Justin Bonsignor, right side tires for Austin Beers, others taking fuel, and Craig Lutz, who's parked completely sideways in his pit stall, took fuel the first time. Now they're getting right side tires on that 46 car. Fuel this time for Patrick Emmerling. Tires right now are right rear going on the 58 of Eric Goodale and that team. Championship contenders are in. Fuel on the second stop for both Austin Beers and Justin Bonsignor. They will exit, and Austin Beers will end up beating Justin Bonsignor off of the pit lane.
That's going to be huge, because that will set up those drivers to be in consecutive order when we go back to green. 64 and 51. Both of those teams have their core pit guys, but you'll see some of the other drivers in the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, with this being a companion weekend with the NASCAR Cup Series, hiring out some different teams. 14 of Jake Lutz hiring a few members of the RFK team.
Yeah, that's what they can take advantage of while those crews are here. Same thing with some of the spotters that are up on the roof as well from the Cup Series. And many of them have modified routes or maybe have modified championships in their own right. This is going to be pretty interesting here when we get back under the green flag. Mike Marshall is going to be the free pass car. He will get back on the lead lap in that 29 car. On and off pit lane, Craig Lutz is coming back down pit road for a 3rd time. He was on and off pit road a couple of times to get service on that 46, and he's going to lose a ton of track position in the process. But I think more importantly, you've got a new look in the front of the field. Matt Hirschman, big money Matt in the 60 car, will be the race leader. We've got Ryan Newman, Steven Kopczyk, Danny Bone, Tommy Catalano are going to be the top 5, and Luke Baldwin. Where is Austin Beers and Justin Bonsignor? They find themselves mired deep in the pack, back in the 13th and 14th spot for Austin Beers and Justin Bonsignor. Their pit strategy is going to cost them quite a bit of track position.
This is where things could potentially go off the rails for either or Justin Bonsignor or Austin Beers. Again, to your point, mired mid-pack. That's where all the action is. It's easy. Sometimes there's more respect racing up front because perceptively there's more on the line. But you talk to a lot of these guys on the Whelen Modified Tour. John Michael Chenette comes to mind. He said, you know, I'm racing my guts out for 16th. I've raced for 5th. I race harder for 16th on a weekly basis. So now you have these guys racing in the middle of the pack. Justin, throwing it all to the wall here tonight, is certainly going to be aggressive on the restart, because even though he's cool, calm, and collective and been there before, you can't take the mental aspect out, and the competitor that he is with 46 NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour wins and 4 championships, he's got to mentally be in front of that 64. He's physically got to be in front of the 64 all night. He's got to get there.
So the battle continues on. Justin Bonsignor looks out that windshield, sees the car that he's got to beat, but not just beat, he's got to go out there and win that race and advance at least 8 positions on the racetrack at the very minimum over Austin Beers. We'll continue to follow that championship battle as we go. Field comes back around to click another one off, but the race leader, Matt Hirschman, pretty interesting here for Matt Hirschman. He is another driver. We talked about there's always something to race for. He's got an opportunity to bypass and gain the 3rd position in the championship standings, comes into the 4th spot, has a win this season at the Seekonk Speedway in Massachusetts, where he has been so good, but he's also had a couple of runner-up finishes here at the Martinsville Speedway over the past couple of races. He's a 10-time winner in the Whelen Modified Tour, and Matt Hirschman has won everything you could win in modified racing. He would love to have a grandfather clock, and when you get that 60 car out front early on with the speed that that car normally has, everybody takes notice.
He has some major pit strategy. You mentioned he picked up a win at Seekonk earlier this year. Seekonk appears on the 2026 NASCAR Whelen Modified schedule, which was released earlier today. Not once, but twice. Hirschman has to love this. Going to Seekonk on May 16th and back on July the 1st. A 16-race schedule, which includes the first main date since 2021. As a Manor, I love that. So they're going to the Oxford Plains Speedway on May. Make sure you bundle up. It's going to be windy. They put the planes in plane. And going back to White Mountain Motorsport Park, who's going to love that? Kyle Bonsignor picked up the win last year, or this year.
I love New Smyrna. You start things off in a companion of NASCAR Speed Weeks leading up to the Daytona 500, the Great American Race. It's a great week there. Martinsville here in the spring, and Thompson Speedway, which is a track that I spent a lot of time at in my career. You look at Stafford Motor Speedway, though, Friday, August 28th. Everybody's been asking about getting Stafford back on the schedule. They return to the half mile in 2026, and we are about ready to return to the green flag. It's Austin Beers deep in traffic. We'll restart on the outside lane just ahead of Justin Bonsignor, but on the front row, Matt Hirschman and Ryan Newman as they are toe-to-toe as they come off turn number 4 with the green flag going in the air here at Martinsville.
Sailing it into turn number 1, Matt Hirschman gets the big jump. Generally, the inside line is the way to go. Ryan Newman, I was thinking if Ryan Newman's up front, he's going to be incredibly tough to pass. Why? Because he's Ryan Newman, but he's trapped up on the high side. Here comes the 54 of Tommy Catalano on the inside. Tomcat will pounce and move to spot number 3, right behind Steven Kopczyk, who had to start towards the back of the pack after an unimproved adjustment. The driver with 2 second-place finishes this year runs in that position off of turn number 4.
He got into Ryan Newman a bit in turns 1 and 2. Newman nearly got to his back bumper over there in turn 3. Where's our championship point leader? He's working the outside lane, the 64 of Austin Beers. Restarted in 13th. He's already up to 8th.
Beers works the outside right in front of Jacob Lutz in number 14. Lutz, who finished 3rd last year, was one of the fastest race cars on the track. They had a pit miscue last year, and talking to him this afternoon, he said that's basically the reason why we didn't end up with a grandfather clock last night. That team races part-time and fast every single time he's been out there. a collegiate athlete back in the day, and now running side by side with 19-year-old Luke Baldwin. He swings to the outside, and everybody tries to stack up right behind the 25. Meanwhile, back up towards the front, here comes Tommy Catalano.
Looking for second underneath Steven Kopsick. And behind them, a great battle where Kyle Bonsignore rooted Ryan Newman up out of the way. To move into fourth, his car charging forward as well. Beers in the right-hand side of your screen, able to break free of that hornet's nest. He's got a little bit of breathing room now in the 64.
Why is it every time we talk to Tommy Catalano about not necessarily liking a racetrack, he flips the switch and then goes out and does extremely well? This happened earlier at Monadnock this year. He said, you know, I wasn't a big fan of the racetrack, went out and won the race in dramatic fashion, and now he's all over the back bumper of Matt Hirschman, sets him up down the back straightaway.
Good exit speed for the 54 of Tommy Catalano, dives to the inside of Matt Hirschman. It'll take over the race lead, the fourth lead chain of the race, and Tommy Catalano goes to the front. At the same time, the 22 of Kyle Bonsignore slides into third.
Yeah, there might be something amiss with the number 60 of Matt Hirschman. It's just a little bit, too, because Catalano, in just the last 40 seconds, has opened up a 5-car length advantage, and it's growing off of turn number 4. Here comes Kyle Bonsignore to the inside. Kyle, who started 107 races in NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour competition, has a few wins, but never a start on the front row. I think he's more concerned with finishing on the front row, and especially P1, getting that grandfather clock. The man who loves Halloween, we'll talk more about that as the show rolls on, rides in second spot.
Kyle Bonsignore tipped the cap to his crew chief, Cam Madurian, a very experienced crew chief in the Whelen Modified Tour. He said the adjustments that he makes in the second half of the race after the pit stop is where we have gotten so much better. A little bit of contact between Craig Lutz and Joey Coulter sent the 02 up the racetrack as Lutz continues to make up for lost ground. Remember, he was on pit road 3 times under that caution, but put a period on the 22 car of Kyle Bonsignore, just kind of thinking through how good they get in the second half of the race. He's second and starting to close in on the race leader, Tommy Catalano.
For all the noise we talked about with Craig Lutz pitting 3 times and mired back in the field and how that could be a problem, how about the one of Patrick Emmerling? Emmerling, one of the fastest guys early on. He's behind Trevor Catalano going down into turn number 1. They're outside the top 10 right now as they're just trying to break in right now. Patrick Emmerling officially or unofficially 13th on the racetrack.
Go back a bit further. Danny Bone in the 25 machine. Great to have him with us. Ran the Smart Tour much this season. Battle for the race lead. Tommy Catalano running the low groove of the racetrack, but his car drifts up off turn number 2 as Kyle Bonsignore tries to find racing room. That 22 car looks really sporty here tonight. A tremendous amount of confidence out of Kyle Bonsignore as he continues to close in and put pressure on the race leader.
You know, he started the season off with terrible, terrible luck. And talking to him about mid-season, this is before he picked up the win at White Mountain, I said, what keeps you coming back? You always have a smile on your face. You're literally the happiest guy in the garage area some weekends. He said, you know, if we didn't have speed, if we weren't running strong, I don't know if I'd really want to do this. So they get luck on their side. They have a couple of races come their way. And, you know, you look, one of the key stats about Kyle Bonsignore that I see really standing out this year is the fact that he's led 221 laps. That is more than 3 times the laps he's led in any other season. So a grizzled veteran who's performing at a higher level than he ever has in 2025, going after the lead. Tommy Catalano currently shows the way.
Catalano won that first career victory at one of the smallest tracks on the circuit, Winchester, New Hampshire's Monadnock Speedway, earlier this season on a doubleheader weekend. Now he's leading at one of the most iconic and historic venues in all of NASCAR, the Martinsville Speedway, as we will see 78 laps of the 200 complete. Bonsignore pitching that car sideways off the corner, trying to do everything he can to cross up that 54 and take over the race lead.
We got a couple of family men racing for the lead right now. You have Tommy Catalano, who, as he and his wife are expecting, we pointed that out earlier in the evening. And then you have car 22, Kyle Bonsignore, stabbing to the inside, going to the lead. Brand new leader, car number 22, as we complete lap number 79. Now, if you love Halloween, then Bonsignore is your guy. Their front yard is full of about 8 skeletons. It's almost like a Christmas manger scene, but it's not that because obviously it's Halloween. His family gets so into it. They do family costumes nearly every single year, and they're looking forward to the upcoming holiday.
Yeah, just a week away. We get into the Halloween season, and they want to be able to make sure that they've decorated the pumpkins with a grandfather clock and a win tonight. You go back to the 3rd spot. Matt Hirschman continues to falter. The 70 car of Andy Seiss, an interesting story there for him, returning to Martinsville Speedway, where he's had some good history in his modified career. Austin Beers is there, navigating through traffic. Beers has been able to move back up to the 6th spot. And this is kind of what Austin Beers has done all season. You think he's struggling, he's down and out, things start to go backpedal. He's back in 13th, 14th, then all of a sudden he creeps forward. He moves forward a little more, while Justin Bonsignore now finds himself 9th after winning the pole and leading the opening 47 laps of tonight's race.
Yeah, if they end up picking up the win here tonight, that 64 team is going to celebrate. They are performing at a level that they haven't before in the history of that entire team. Mike Murphy, we talked to him earlier this afternoon, and just saying, you know what, you have that he has that Irish flair that he brings to the modified tour, and he's just a jolly guy. And he said, no matter what happens here tonight, we've accomplished so much. I really want the championship, and sure enough, we're going to celebrate. He's overcome some health issues in the last couple of years, but at 68 years old, he's ticking, and he's cheering on his driver right now.
Go back behind him, Tommy Baldwin, the 7 York machine. Luke Baldwin behind the wheel of that car. Made his debut in the Craftsman Truck Series here in Martinsville in the spring. We'll have another opportunity to run at Phoenix and get some more laps in the Craftsman Truck Series for Thor Sport. That car, a bit of a handful, will allow Jake Lutz to peer down to the inside in turn 1.
Jake Lutz and that team, that's his 3rd car. As I mentioned, he was 3rd place last year.